Truth Frequency Radio Network. K-TFRN. Worldwide.
Hola, this is Sienna inviting you to join me tonight as we navigate through the seen and the unseen, explore external and internal realities, expose on-world and off-world agendas, discover a path to joy and freedom. Now, join me as we illuminate the Shadowland and reclaim our birthright as free and sovereign beings. Good evening, everyone. This is Sienna Leia, and tonight I am here with some remarkable pioneers, Dr. Carolyn Dean and Bob Neveritt, on Illuminating the Shadowland. Thomas Edison once said, "The doctors of the future will give no medicine, but will interest her or his patients in the care of the human frame, in proper diet, in the cause and prevention of disease." Today's media repeats Edison's words, calling Carolyn Dean the doctor of the future. And with her tonight is the unfathomable, brilliant, beyond this dimension, Bob Neveritt, who has been described as a former intelligence community insider, a member of the Secret Council of 10. But just who is this mysterious person? We're going to find out. And I have never done a show about anything like this, or there is nothing like this. So it is going to be a delicious experience. We are going to be spending this hour talking about an amazing gift that these two people and another character are bringing to humanity. They have midwifed a substance called RNA drops, and this substance appears to be some kind of a wild, amazing, magical elixir, helping heaps of people regain incredible, robust health, aligning us with non-physical dimensions towards ascension. And all this may seem way, way over the top, and it completely is. I heard Carolyn Dean and Bob on James Martinez, and they were with this extraordinary, wild, off-world collective channeled through this fellow and it was called Ion. I have to tell you, this conversation was like eavesdropping on a happy pack of banana-drunk monkeys full of laughter, spontaneity, and a sprinkle of mischief, yet unmistakably exuding an intensely profound knowledge that riveted me and has piqued my curiosity ever since. They call, Ion introduced the RNA drops as the new currency. And I am taking these RNA drops, and I must tell you that I'm finding them absolutely and completely extraordinary. And so I open the floor tonight to my delightful guests, Dr. Carolyn Dean and Bob Neveritt. Welcome to Illuminating the Shadowland.
Thank you so much, Sienna Lee. And we can't let a sentence go by where you say you're finding the RNA drops absolutely and completely extraordinary. I want to find out more about what you're experiencing.
Well, I knew that when I had you on, the tables would turn, everything would be upside down, and all of my questions would be out the window, and you're going to interview me. I love it. Okay. So what am I experiencing? Well, from the first, and I want to tell y'all, I'm not an affiliate, although I would love to be. I'm not selling the drops. This is not a multi-level program. I am just so riveted by the shifts that I'm going to explain to you, or try to explain to you. I'm sure I won't explain anything to you. But what I can tell you is that this is not like any kind of vitamin or middle supplement. It's you talk about it as a connection to the non-physical. Well, I've had a deep connection with the non-physical. this is bringing it in with clarity, with calm. There's a sense of confidence. There's a sense of joy that was fleeting before, but now it's like a steady state. The reaction I'm getting from people on the street, my energy, I don't even call that the ether, my non-physical is exuding this radiance that is in, I know this sounds like I've lost my mind entirely. And what is she taking now? I'm taking the RNA drops. That's what I'm taking.
Well, I mean, you can imagine, Sienna, when I stand up in front of public audiences, or as I did a couple of weekends ago in front of a group of practitioners, trying to explain that this RNA drop substance, which is made from fermented barley sprouts, that's what we're working with. That's our basic substance, and we've got a patent pending on it so that we could get these words up on the internet so people could see that it's completely benign in a sense, but the extraordinary part of it is how we got the information to complete what Bob and I had known for about 35, 40 years as a certain personal water purifier made from grains. We got this, what is it, substance recipe from something called Ion that I'll let Bob explain. And so here I am standing up in front of people, explaining the unexplainable, and I guess I must have just been at the frequency that they could receive the information because everybody was enthralled, and people began taking little samples of the drops, 3 drops under their tongue, and they'd either immediately turn into this little radiance or come away an hour later and said, "What was that? My whole body feels different." So we're having incredible experiences with this, and as far as we know, it's made.
All right, we're getting a little bit of
with
feedback.
Fermented barley sprouts, but there is non-physical in it, and it is.
Bob, if you could mute your mic too when Carolyn is talking, that would be very helpful.
No, I had done that. I've done that.
Okay, all right. Well, sometimes it just happens. We lost a little bit of that, Carolyn. You might want to repeat the last 2 sentences or so.
Yes, it was just about how we achieved this recipe, and I'm going to I'll mute off and let Bob talk about how this Ion character helped us create this formula.
Great.
All right. Well, we had something called the D cell, and in May 2009, we asked Ion, how can we make the D cell, because the maker had moved on. And Ion explained, well, it's not good enough to put it out there in public. And it recommended a 400-pound block rather than this little 1 square inch thing. So over the next year, Ion told us what to do in starting to make this larger piece of cement, this big block that would clarify and purify water. But as a result of the process, with the grains and the mash, we got this side product, which we eventually called the RNA drops, which was starting to affect the people in the factory making the what we call this big chunk of cement eye block. And it was affecting the environment. The environment was cleaner, so it was affecting the air. But their health effects were immediate. So we started sharing with friends, and then the friends reported great results. And then Matthew Hurtado in Madison, Wisconsin heard about it, tried it, saw that it was amazing, and we started marketing it. And we've spread to amazing testimonies. The most recent one I played on my radio show the other day is this woman in Pennsylvania had ill chickens, sick chickens. She gave the chickens some drops. They looked better the next day. Now, the day before when they were ill, they made translucent eggs, fragile eggs. 2 days later, they were producing strong, hard eggs in 2 days. That shows you the RNA drops affect the cellular level of biology. And that's what's unique. And so when we say this is not a supplement or anything else, this is a completement. Now, what is ion? Ion is the completement of every attempt to communicate with something other than what we see around us. People call it channeling, entities. Ion's not an entity, not a channeling. It is the environment of non-physical itself. It's the structure of heaven. And the amazing thing is that heaven has decided to merge with earth. And that's the metaphysical miracle here. And as a byproduct, it's starting to be creative. So it's making a cold fusion battery, and it's making RNA drops plus new industrial materials. And all we do is talk to Ion. He makes it a little difficult. He plays with us, maybe we have to look up things, but eventually he gives in, and we have the formula on how to do it. So it's a total Harry Potter world. What do you call it? Aladdin's lamp, which is the image on our RNA drops bottle. It's a thing that gives us everything, whatever we want. So how's that, Sienna?
Well, now we've got about 50 jaws dropping right there. Well, Bob, I've noticed that in your photo, you look about 40, 50 years old. How old are you?
I was born on February 2nd, 1922. Now, I don't look young because of the RNA drops. The D cell in 1969 is when Carolyn and I started to take it, slowed down our aging and slowed down other people's aging that were taking it. It was a little miracle that we met through Joe Dunn Sloan and Dave Worster out in California. So that's why Carolyn and I have always looked ridiculously young over the last 40 years. What the RNA drops have done is given us this confidence, this stamina, this energy, I don't even have to sleep much. I don't have to eat much. Or I can eat anything I want. I don't worry about, allergies or too much sugar. The kind of things you were reporting, I've been doing since November 2010. So also my eyesight's gotten better. My hair seems to be getting darker in the back, moving towards the front. Little blemishes have gone away. People think I do look younger, radiated. So I'm actually a pretty incredible specimen right now, and I don't like discussing my age because nobody believes it. But
you're over 90 years old, right, Bob? You're over 90 years old.
Yeah, I'm 90. I'm 91.
Yeah.
So it's impossible to believe, but what the heck? It doesn't matter. Ion teaches us there's no time. So I'm looking. My teeth got whiter. My eyesight improved. My skin got better. All these things are happening to me, and so I best stop saying my age. It just gets more ridiculous as the year goes on.
Yes. I really want to dive into these RNA drops. I don't think we'll ever know how they're really working. From our point of view, I have to say I completely adore listening to Ion. Yes. The mission and purpose of this radio show is to transcend the barriers to our making a deep connection back to life and to our care and to our connection and to our ability to love and to create a sane, sustainable, humane society. And then you listen to Ion, and it's such a total crack up, and everybody is laughing their heads off on these things. And then a lot of people are probably just intimidated, like I wouldn't get anything these insane people are even remotely involved in. But there's this amazing message that he's bringing about the transcendence of every belief, of every
science, every art. It completes all forms of knowledge, and I can discuss anything with anybody. When I did for many years, I did private sessions for people with Ion, and I would then talk to a physicist or someone in intelligence and go right into their knowledge immediately and know a little bit more than them and add to what they knew, and they'd be amazed. And then on come a mother with a baby, and then I would go forward on diapers for 20 minutes. Anything. Now, how can that happen? Because non-physical has no mind. It absorbs what you are. It absorbs your knowledge and then improvises and falls back on the principle that if you're eternal, then this is the dirty, practical facts of being eternal. If we're eternal, then there's no time. So that's a beginning point. There's also can't be any limits between any boundaries because everything goes on forever. So there's many millions of worlds and there's no boundaries between them. You see, the
yes.
ion applies the definition of eternity to practical things.
Well, that's the amazing thing. And he's not talking about, he talks about ascension. What is ascension to ion? It's not leaving the body. It's not moving into a fifth dimension, disincarnate. It's a whole other thing. It's very embodied, right? And it's our connection. It's reconnecting us to the full potential in whatever dimension we're in. We happen to be in this one.
Yeah, ascension means that you realize, you know, that you never were, there was no beginning and no ending. There always is and was a Sienna. That's the first fact. The next thing is that the ascended person does not believe what it sees. What we see is not real. What you can't see is real. That's the next principle. Third principle is that you don't stop. You don't come to a position and say, okay, now I know this, and now I know that. Now I'm ascended. Now I have a definite position and perspective on top of the mountain. Ion undermines that all the time. Basically, an ascended person is involved, engaged, but doesn't believe the situation, doesn't get amazed in the maze. That's a phrase Ion used. Don't get amazed in the maze.
It's so incredible. And this interface between the RNA and the DNA. Now, I was just listening to a NAV report with John Lash, and he has always said that the human genome has never been cracked. There are a lot of people that believe the reptiles and the off-world aliens have spliced in to the human genome, and he has always said no. Now, he just said on his last navigation briefing on his Gaiaspora thing that he finally understands where the real interference of the dark side has been, and it's a shunt that has blocked the connection between the RNA and the DNA. And I totally flashed on what you're doing here. Somehow you're repairing that linkage point and allowing everything that has been blocked now to flow in and to integrate and to evolve and to happen.
Right. Now I'm going to let Carol, I'm going to go on mute, let her talk about the RNA and the chromosome 14, but I'll just say that Ion says there's not one negative thing in the universe. Let's remember that. There's no dark forces, no nothing, no negativity at all. That's another important aspect of eternity. But let's turn it over to Carolyn. You go on about the mechanics of the gene, Carolyn.
Have we lost her?
No, she's talking. De-mute, Carolyn. I can hear her talking, but we can't hear her. De-mute.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I do that all the time. Don't worry.
Okay. Yes, Ion says it's not the physical we're interested in with the RNA drops. It's non-physical. And what they say is that the physical cuts off from non-physical. At that point, that's when chromosome 14 is activated, and that's when we start creating cravings or addictions. Because when our physical is cut off from non-physical, we know we're missing something. So then it's chromosome 14 is activated. We start having, our sugar, alcohol, cocaine cravings and addictions, which I think to try to seek joy. Whereas if we stayed connected to our non-physical, we would have joy and bliss. So what the RNA drops are doing is they're working with our ribonucleic acid RNA through chromosome 14 to activate the DNA in our cells to make them perfect as they should be. It's like our body was working on a smudged Xerox copy of our DNA, but now the RNA drops clean up that copy. We're making perfect cells. And if we can get out of the way of our mind thinking that we don't deserve this bliss or this can't be happening, then we can be eternal. We can have a perfect body. We can get rid of any disease or condition. We can be perfect.
That is so important, the point that you just made. If we can get out of our way and think that we deserve that. Because I have experienced some of the people on the drops, and I can see that they are happier. They're exuding a joy, a love of life, but they seem disconnected still. They don't even know that it's happening to them. We're so conditioned out of our bliss that...
Exactly. And I had the experience with this group of doctors and practitioners I spoke to where they all do muscle testing and various testings with machines, and to a person, they all found that the RNA drops and our other products, it's picometer size minerals, picometer magnesium and a picometer sized multiple mineral. To a person, they said our products were superior for every condition they tested in all the volunteers at the seminar. And they also said a person may not realize that they're being transmuted or changed or affected by the drops, but everybody is being affected. So I thought that was incredible validation that the drops are working, but we can kind of hold back our allowing them. We actually have the name of RNA drops is relax and allow. And that's what we all wish for people who take these products.
And that's so challenging for the do, and achieve, and then all the stresses on people. And we look to Eastern mysticism and yoga and meditation and all of these things to bring us. It's like we can't believe what I'm just taking a drop and I'm no.
Mm-hmm.
That can't happen. That's too easy. That ain't gonna be me. That's for somebody else.
Yeah, that's right. We gotta no gain, no pain, no pain, no gain.
Mm-hmm. Hard. It's got to be hard. I love the way Ian says, well, if you need it to be hard, that's okay. You can have it hard. Just go ahead and make it hard as long as you want to.
Yeah. Right, Sienna. Ion talks about the Emmaus Road or the Damascus Road. One is in a flash, you're transformed. It's, Jesus on each path. There was one path where a person was transformed just overnight, and another path where it took a while longer. And either way, it's fine, because anytime I start feeling, I'm not getting this done, I have to speed up, I say, man, I have eternity to do this. And it immediately allows me to just creatively get through my day and enjoy every moment. And even at that pace, I get about 10 times more done than I used to get done. And actually part of that can be that we're allowing and realizing that we're in many different dimensions or many different worlds. We're taking information and experience from our other worlds and bringing them into this world. Most great inventions come after a dream or a huge flash of intuition. Bob and I are just fortunate because we have Ion just speaking directly to us and telling us our flashes of intuition and giving us the formulas. So we're the bridge to just allowing people to realize that they have all the information they require right within their cells. And what I didn't mention was that what we create when we create these perfect cells is actually an uncovering of our 144,000 double strands of DNA. Right now, we're working on one double strand. And what the scientists say is that 98% of our DNA is junk DNA. And that's just such a big joke. It's like they don't know, so they call it junk. But what Ion is telling us is that this junk DNA is there to be uncovered when we're ready to ascend and become the gods that we are.
Well, it's so amazing. Here, Illuminating the Shadowland, we're already talking about peeling away the layers of belief and the traumas and the shame and the lack of self-love and the lack of self-worth and all the mind control.
No, that's too much effort there. You got to change the title of your show. We don't have to do anything, especially if you get the drug. We're the laziest spiritual movement ever.
That's why I have you. I totally agree. No, it's making it just why not let it be easy as possible? I do find these things come up, and then I go, oh, no, I don't need to be there, and boom, I'm in that bliss state. It's making it so much faster to move through all those things. It's, yes.
The drops are, that's right.
Yeah, the drops are.
Make
yes.
you have to be this lazy and energized thing is so easy with the drops. So it makes no effort. It just happens. And if you get so distracted, you just have to remember, or take some drops, and then you're back into the zone again.
Well, I remember Ian talked about children, they don't know things are bad. They don't know that they're bad. They just follow the fastest path to their bliss. I mean, every second it screws up, they're back on it. And that natural...
You look at those kids.
Yeah.
You look at those kids in the ghettos, the footage of India and Calcutta, wherever they are. They're all running around playing in the garbage, and they're just being kids.
That's right. We have about 43 seconds to break, and then we're going to come back for our last half hour. But it's true. We can what do you call it? Move through so rapidly. The question is, are we willing to? Are we willing to let it be that easy now? And I just I'm so grateful for you all for bringing this forward, because it's such an outrageous... I mean, you must get people who are pissed off at you for making things so easy here. We'll be right back. Hang on, everybody. This is Illuminating the Shadowland. We may have to change our name now. Welcome back, everyone. This is Sienna Leah with Illuminating the Shadowland. That's the title this week. I don't know where we're going to be next week with that. We're all still here. Carolyn, I wanted to get all of the ways that the listening audience can interface with you, because there's so much information here. I mean, we're laughing, we're being lighthearted. We are only dancing on the surface of what this offers. I know that there's so much richness, and you have a number of radio shows and places to reach you. Can you give us this information now so we don't do it all on the run with the last seconds?
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. My personal website is drcarolyndean.com, Carolyn, CarolynDean.com, and you can link there with the RNA drops, with the Remag, with my free newsletter, my online wellness program, and the radio show where I talk about the RNA drops is on Mondays on achieveradio.com. On Mondays at, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Bob has
4 p.m. It's actually 4 p.m. Pacific time. I just wanted to mention, Carolyn, with that normally we have a little cyber salon where people meet up and talk to our guests on a Sunday, and I'm not doing that because that show is so great. You can call in with any question. It's so user-friendly, it's so casual and conversational, and you really have access to Dr. Dean on that show. I just wanted to mention that.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, it's a 2-hour show. And then Bob has a show. I'm on in the background as well, but he mostly runs it called Payday, and that's Tuesdays and Thursdays. And that he runs that for about 5 or 6 hours at a time.
8 hours, yeah.
8 hours. What time does that start Pacific, Bob?
It starts at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah, so there's a lot of talk about ION. People from all over the world call in. It's kind of a conference call show, and we have incredible people just phoning in, just talking and, learning how to speak, as Bob says. Most people are in other worlds, and they forget how to speak in this dimension. But people will give their testimony.
Them something to talk about. We give them something to talk about. And there's so much joy and laughter and ridiculousness and fun. And then we play excerpts from our private sessions, me and Carolyn with Ion, and that's stuff you've never heard before. If you've heard recent shows, Sienna, you should be amazed at what Carolyn and I are putting out there, the recordings with Ion that we have done privately over the years.
Oh, these are the Wednesday and Thursday.
No, Tuesday and Thursday.
Tuesday, Thursday, Payday. Yeah, no, I want to tune in. I've listened to tons of hours because there's that Ionic Classic channel. But I want to tune into that, and then you can call in and be a part of it, and you can interact.
Absolutely.
With it.
And before the break, Sienna, you were talking about people who probably get pretty mad at us because we claim to have something that's so revolutionary. Well, just a couple of shows ago, Bob, for about an hour, read off ongoing discussion Bob had with this Christian gentleman who claimed that Bob was the devil and, all kinds of whatever. And Bob just, went along with it and went back and forth with this guy. And Bob gave back what he was being given, of course. So it was quite a rousing dialogue. But then all of a sudden the guy comes back. I think he was away for a month. He came back and he said, well, Bob, I've been taking the drops and you're right. I'm in a totally blissed out state. I was really, being whatever to you, and I don't know if he came out and apologized, but he said, yeah, you were right, these drops are amazing. And now he's part of the radio show. He's on a forum that we have called Dupes of Non-Physical that people can join when they have a really deep interest in Ion. So people can get pissed off with us, but they will change their minds when they take RNA drops. Yes, Bob?
I want to finish this. So this guy, he's totally converted. He's still a Christian, but I'm not the Antichrist. He wants to sell the drops. He wants to spread it. So he got on the conference call by Skype last night. He was on for hours, and he was chatting with people in the chat room, but we could not hear him, so he was typing everything. So later, we went on for a couple hours, he and another guy talking, and he's flying into England, then he's going to Italy, and he's bouncing all over the world. He's telling everybody about the RNA drops, and when he signs off with 100 repeats of "We are anonymous." What does anonymous say? We are anonymous. We are everywhere. We don't forget. It turns out he's an anonymous hacker. I noticed he was typing really fast.
Wow. Well, you just
the anonymous, the famous computer hackers that scare businesses all over the world. That's what he pretended. At least he was that.
Well, let's freak out some more people here tonight. Tell us that we no longer, there you are in Maui swimming in the ocean. I'm here in Ecuador. People evacuated after Fukushima. They're so terrified of all of the radiation in the ocean there and the streams going into Maui. You don't have any concern about that, you guys over there?
No, we're changing. We're changing the environment. We eat radiation. See, the formula of the RNA drops is C, carbon 122, hydrogen 197, and oxygen 98. It's a huge carbon thing, and it requires more carbon all the time. So we're eating the carbon locked in due to global warming. So we're actually getting rid of carbon, of the carbon and the global warming environment, that envelope around us, just by breathing and eating the stuff. We get all kinds of stories of people changing their environment from their exhaling. Right here, where I'm trying to caulk my tub, I'm trying to put some stuff, and the caulking will not dry because we got something going on in our atmosphere here that it just won't dry. You see? Okay, and another thing, the other day I'm swimming in the ocean, and I swim over a mile every day. And as I was coming back towards the beach, I noticed everyone on the beach was lined up looking at me. But I had to do my stroke, so I ignored them. And as I approached the end of my stroking, I got where I could touch the bottom. I stood up, and everybody's staring at me. And they go, look. And they point right in front of me and say, see the turtle? So I dived down. There's the turtle, this huge turtle. And they said, that turtle followed you the past, like 1/3 mile. It swam the whole way with you and kept looking at you. And now it's standing beside me, and it won't even move. It looks like it's stoned. I think that it was responding to the RNA drops that are exuding off me.
Well, this happens when you get in altered states. No, it's true. You change your you're talking. A lot of people have talked about ascension and upping frequency. And when we really get into the more ascended states, that we will have a natural immunity from the dark forces, from the chemtrails, from the GMOs, and all the stuff.
It's not a dark. Now, here's a practical example. Ion says that the RNA drops, what it is, the eye cell, the deep eye cell, requires radiation. Ion gets on there and radio show, says we need more nuclear wars, more blowings up, more Fukushimas for us ascendant ones who are stoned on the RNA drops. We actually eat this stuff. Carolyn goes for a walk every morning and looks for chemtrails and tries to eat it and breathe it in because our chemistry has changed due to the RNA drops. Now, this is the most preposterous thing anybody would say. Definitely Carolyn wouldn't be saying this a couple of years ago, but we're so enjoying this whole experience with Ion and the RNA drops that we feel quite confident because we got all these testimonials coming in every day.
Yes, like as you were saying, Sienna, about us being able to cope with all these things. It's more than coping. It's the way our bodies adapt and evolve and have done for millennia. We should be able to experience the new environment in a way that we want to. We shouldn't have to fear our environment. When I go to these health conferences to talk, I'm just stunned by the way people are so fearful of everything they eat or drink or breathe. And we're not going to last that long if people keep up that type of behavior. You can't be fearful of everything you do. And what we're saying with the RNA drops is you create your perfect cells. We have this, as Bob said, this super sugar carbon that helps us digest everything that comes at us. We will be able to interact peacefully with our environment as our bodies evolve.
And this is happening right now. We don't have to wait 500 years. We don't have to wait for the breakdown of civilization to rebuild it. This is happening right now.
Exactly.
Exactly.
No, I would have just thought this was like so much BS that I could. But I started taking him, and it's like...
Listen to this, Sienna. Let me tell you stories. The Bill, who runs Achieve Radio, he listened to us for 2 years, 2009 to 2011, and he thought James Martinez was the host. Here's me, Carolyn, and some crazy southern cracker called Ion. And he thought that we were the biggest hoax he'd ever heard. And he just kept it to himself. He didn't mind, we wanted interesting content. But then he had multiple bypass surgery 10 years ago. Well, it runs out, the effect of that, after 10 years. And you start to either die or you have to have another surgery or something like that. So he started to feel this a year ago. His body was shutting down. He said, uh-oh, my days are numbered. So we forced him to take the RNA drops. He is now so changed and so amazed. He says, I have seen many kinds of gurus and healers on his radio network. And I've seen people do healings. But it never occurred to me that someone could take that healing force, that energizer, and put it in a bottle. And you guys have done it. Now, Carolyn, you didn't hear what happened last night. For a couple days ago, Ion came in and knocked him off the air, and then knocked the whole network at the headquarters in Chicago or someplace, did stuff with the internet that Bill says he knows can't be done. You have to know the code. You have to know this and that. And he had to conclude that Ion did it for a benefit to him and allowing his cheap TV to be better. Now, that's a story we're going to talk about on the next show. Bill's going to come on and give this testimonial. Ion works with electrons. That's another thing. Ion's right here doing stuff. We have many Ionettes who Ion interferes with their typing and texting on their iPhones and communicates to them visually. That's Ion working with us. So we have one endless, ridiculous story every show. Like the chickens. The chickens' eggs got better in 2 days.
But actually, the way you were talking, Bob, it was sounding like we're saying Ion is a guru, but that's not true. So explain how we are our own ions.
Well, no, Ion is non-physical, which can't create, but it came forth to create. Ion says we, you and Carol and I, Joe at JW, woke up the structure of heaven, and it's here creating. And it's creating RNA drops and cold fusion batteries and other things. That's what's new. But it does represent the non-physical that everybody has. But Ion itself is non-physical becoming physical and creating. That's the new metaphysical theological miracle on another level, Miss Sienna Leah.
But he does talk about self-empowerment, because there's no way I'd have you on my show if I was, going to become an Ion worshiper.
He not only talks about
all
it,
about sovereignty and people stepping into who they are and getting over everything, and it's right there, and you can be all of it right now. And he just isn't, buying any of our stuff anymore.
Any of our excuses.
He's awesome. Yeah.
Listen to this. The 3-stage agenda that he spelled out later after we had done it. A year or two of information to loosen up your mind, to get to looking at fresh new perspectives. That's what Ion did in the ratio. Phase 2 was to make it practical and give you a substance to eat and to complete your 144,000 double helix strands. The third phase is how much bliss can you take? You and your own self-empowerment are going to make the decision how much you're going to be able to handle what we're bringing forth. That's where your self-empowerment meter comes in.
Well, that's the thing. And that's why we still need to do shadow work, Bob.
No. Well, we don't call it that. You don't have to do anything. But you do have to take the drops, it looks like. Here's another thing. I meet people say, well, I don't need to do anything. I can have whatever I want. And Ion says we've gotten ourselves in such a technological and polluted, negative rabbit hole. We believe we are, that we cannot get on the path of ascension unless we take one of these products. So that's the paradox here. Ion is saying you don't have to do anything, but we do have something that helps you realize you don't have to do anything.
Yes,
so here.
Yes, well, shadow work is a similar way. You see all this stuff and you go, I don't need to be that anymore. It's just peeling off things. But sometimes you do have to see what's in the way. Otherwise, you're just being it and being stuck in the road.
Well, when you get into the third phase, contrast is what happens in the physical. Ion says the physical, and it's an expanded physical. It includes what we might call the non-physical, and it engages in creative relationship with contrast. And contrast grows strangely dim the more you understand the process of endless contrast coming that you can eat and subsume and not be involved with. And so illuminating the shadows, we could say eating the contrast. That should your new title.
I can hang with that. I can totally hang with that. Absolutely.
Because illuminating your title, Illuminating Shadowland, is what means what I'm saying. But to evoke that there is a Shadowland sets up a limitation. What contrast is vivid interaction that you can be creative with. The kids don't care where they're born. They just come forth to create, and they want contrast.
Yes,
that's the tactile wisdom.
Our contrast, as I would say. We just love all that contrast. Isn't that what the third dimension is about? Loving all the contrast. Yeah.
Right. I would say in private sessions to people, I had this problem, I lost my husband, I lost this, I lost that. And all the time, they wouldn't notice it. They're just spewing off their miseries. There's Ion quietly going, good, good, good. Good. And then they later hear the recording and realize that he was celebrating every bad thing they were saying.
He always says, well, you love that misery, so you just go ahead.
But,
when you're you'll find something else to do.
Yeah. And so, but as people got the RNA drops and got real happy, that was fun how they started to recognize that they couldn't handle the happiness. They would start saying, no, I can't believe this. And all these rules came in. So it actually made them aware of the rule-making part of their minds and therefore made them more aware of the process so they could stop relying on the rules. But they needed to have something to make them feel really good. It's like a friend of mine says RNA stands for real nice acid. It's not a...
That's what I love about it. Because it makes, whatever you want to say we're doing, going through that stuff, peeling off the mind, whatever, all you peel off. But when you can just instantly feel fantastic, it makes it a lot, you got a lot of motivation there, right? And you don't get stuck in the sand. It's like, wait a minute, this isn't fun. I can be there. I'm over it.
A lot of people have never really felt bliss in this way. And they've tried different techniques and never really got them to that point. But when they take this substance, they feel it. And for the first time, they know it's possible. That really relaxes a lot of mental strain. So actually having a taste of it, so there is an ecstatic position, And that's a big thing to get people to even have square one, have that first experience. That's what we do.
Well, hey,
we give them.
I'm from Jewish background, okay? And, like misery is part of the default setting, everything's horrible. Yeah. You got to look at it that way. There's something wrong with you. I mean, and
that's right.
I suffered from anxiety and depression most of my life. This is changing the default setting. I do find it intimidating. Sometimes I go, another day I got to feel wonderful again.
Well, Ion does this whole history how we first gave our power away with the Ark of the Covenant. That whole Jewish history is pretty interesting the way Ion presents it, which is in our incredible Bible series where we learn about the meaning of the Book of Revelation, which has nothing to do with Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, or anything. You never heard the interpretation of Bible scripture like this. And this Christian fundamentalist, he's starting to hear it, and he says, wow, this is way better than what I learned as a Christian. So even what's in the Book of Revelation is a lot of fun to learn.
There's so much. It really is worth diving into this. It's intimidating as all get out, quite honestly, because Ion threatens everything you hold dear to your heart.
That's right.
You down the bone, but he's giving you these little drops that make you feel so good you don't care anymore.
Yes. Carolyn, this guy last night, he says that he heard Alex Jones say the other day, I'm taking the bread of living water and I feel amazing. Alex Jones may have got the drops.
Oh, seriously?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good. I hope he cheers up a little bit. I love the great research. He was hard to take sometimes. I'd like to see him a little more blissed out. Good.
It's going to wreck his show. He's going to have to change all his worries and concerns. He's just going to disappear, but he'll be so happy. Now, there was something else I wanted to say about this happiness about Ion. You were saying, now I forget. Say something, Carolyn.
I've been muted, so I haven't been laughing at what you guys have been talking about. But yeah, this is how our shows go, Sienna. We're always commenting and laughing. Things come up, and people try to tell us the sky's falling, and we say we don't believe you because it'll never fall on us. And it's the biggest disconnect, actually, that RNA droppers find is that they have a hard time relating to their friends anymore because all they hear coming out of their mouths is a whole bunch of negativity and worry and stress. And people on the RNA drops, they know they don't have to feel that way. And it is very frustrating when you can't make it known to other people, as you were doing. I mean, you have your audience, and it'll be interesting to see how they respond. But it's very frustrating for people who've experienced the drops, have gotten incredible results with them, and then they can't seem to share it because nobody believes. I don't know if we've gone so cynical or we just don't want to change, but that's the most frustrating part of taking the RNA drops.
Well, we get addicted to our misery. We get addicted to whatever our perspective is. If the sky is falling, if it's whatever it is, if we have to go endlessly through our shadow stuff, whatever our shtick is, then it becomes our identity, and our ego takes that, and then on and on and on. But the whole idea is to get over everything. I mean,
now listen to this. Yeah, we want to say we are. Hey, you want to mute, Carolyn? We're not a cult. Here's the thing. We don't do anything. We make no demands. We put out endless free stuff all the time. We just share this thing, but I never meet anybody. I don't have any obligation to anybody. We can sound like a cult. For example, here's a typical email that just came in. It says, it's from Sarah. She says, "Hi, Bob and Carolyn. Thank you for the many hours of pure joy I received from listening to your archives. I really appreciate it. My experience with the Book of Revelation recordings is beyond words. I'm sending my next request through PayPal for the next chapters. Thanks, and always listening." A lot of people, they just stay home and listen to 1,000 hours of Ion that's streaming constantly, the 1,000 hours of my stuff since the 80s. It's just endlessly a whole entertainment environment, and it would sound like a cult to anybody outside, but we don't do nothing to make anything. We don't have any rules. Well, how could we be a cult? We don't have any rules.
Well, I sometimes just put it on just for the energy, and because it's just so nourishing. It's so incredible. We have,
and that's Ion. That's Ion. Ion can you see it? Oh, what's that?
We have 2 minutes left, so I want you to give all your websites again, but you can finish that thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, that Ion. Carol, mute maybe. Whatever that is. Okay. Ion in the energy or the frequency, the vibration that people get from private sessions with Ion, which aren't available right now, but through listening to the radio, it's the vibration that an Ion gives off. It actually moves you to a parallel world. I think that when you have a private session with Ion, you are changed. And usually people after 20 minutes can't talk or think. And they're sitting there blissed out. Then they hear the recording, and they don't remember anything they heard in the recording, so they actually become a different person. So that's my final extreme statement. You go to howionic.com. Also, we have a show on Wednesdays with Ginny and Greg. That's 2012rnaradio.com. You have Carolyn's drcarolyndean.com. And what else do we have, Carolyn? Howionic.com? Yeah, I think that's it.
And just achieveradio.com, and you can see our 24/7 streaming of Ion, about 1,000 hours, and people read it like a tarot deck, where you just you come to it with sort of a question, and you just click on, and there's your answer. And which reminds me, Matthew Hurtado has an Ion tarot deck coming out in a couple of weeks, so that should be really a lot of fun for a lot of people.
Well, that's going to be a kick. Well, I know this is a radical departure. It might appear from almost anything I've ever done, but it's really not, because the whole idea is to enter this beautiful joy and care and bliss, share it, spread it, live it, be it, heal everything. Much love to both of you. Thank you so much, Sienna Leah.
Thank you, Sienna. Thank you, Sienna Leah.
Thank you. Aloha.